Hey everybody, it's Mike Jeffers, ChicagoJazz.com, Chicago Jazz Magazine, and welcome to Talkin' Jazz. We are here live on tape at Johnny O's 35th and Morgan. I am here with Joel Baer. He has got a show coming up July 24th at it's called the Jazz Record Art Collective at the Fulton Street Collective. I said that twice. 1821 West Hubbard in Chicago. Chris Anderson, the curator of the entire program, it's been going insane over there the last couple of years. It's just building up. More and more groups are playing there. And what they do is they pick one of their favorite albums, and then they recreate it. And I'm not going to tell you any more about it because, Joel, why don't we talk a little bit about it? Now, you got a big band. You're going to be performing Buddy Rich's famous 1967 Big Swing Face album.
That's correct.
How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm good. He lives in Bridgeport, too, so this is like perfect.
This is the neighborhood.
This is it, man. It was very easy to get this whole thing together over here. And it's short notice because the gig's coming up on the 24th.
That's correct.
So let's talk a little bit about it. Now, the Joel Baer and the Big Shift Blue Band? No, the Blue Shift Big Band.
The Blue Shift Big Band.
I already screwed it up, but that's all right. We're not going to edit this out.
That's all right.
We're at Johnny O's. Who cares?
Right now.
The Blue Shift Big Band. I thought it sounded weird when I was saying it, but, whatever.
What are you going to do?
That's right. All right, so how long have you guys had that band?
So the band's been around for 2 years.
Yep.
I started this band with a guitar player friend of mine named Chris Parsons. Mm-hmm. We went to Elmhurst College together, and after we got out, we both were not playing big band music, and we were both really passionate about playing big band music.
Well, if you went to Elmhurst, you had Doug Beach.
Right.
And that's like a huge, massive big band, killer big band. You guys have played with a lot of stars, all that stuff.
There's the festival there. It's a school with a great jazz program, and the big band is well known. So after we got out of school, I went to DePaul after that and played some big band there. So that scratched that itch for a while. But I found myself working and playing a lot, but not playing any big band. So I wanted to start something. And it started as a reading band. We were playing primarily stock charts. And it's turned into more of an originals band. We're playing all kinds of arrangements from different guys in the band, from Chicago arrangers like Joe Clark and Bob Ojeda, and having some guys do some things that are, standards, but also like video game tunes and tunes that are a little outside of the box. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of big bands just start off as a reading band.
Right.
Right? Because, you got to kind of filter out and see who's really into it and who isn't into it. Because,
exactly.
That's a big commitment, man, to come in.
Yeah.
You're not getting paid. You're reading charts. You're hanging out. You got to really love to do that.
Exactly.
And, a lot of the horn players aren't always soloing.
Right.
And there isn't a lot of that. So it's really a collective, the ensemble thing. And now, with what you guys are doing with this, Big Swing Face, the Buddy Rich album, this is like kind of a tough album to play, right? You're the drummer, first of all, so there you have that, right?
Yeah.
But then the rest of the charts, from what I remember, this is kind of a real interesting...
They're heavy charts, yeah. We picked Big Swing Face. I picked Big Swing Face specifically because it didn't have Channel 1 Suite or West Side Story Medley on it, which I thought would be a time commitment that I didn't currently have time for.
Right.
Not only for myself to learn those charts, but to rehearse the band. So, but this album has so many great charts on it. Love for Sale, Mexicali Knows, Big Swing Face, the title track. Mm-hmm. They're just hard swinging great charts. And of course, there's Norwegian Wood, and all the arrangers on this album, specifically Bill Holman, who does a few of the charts, and Shorty Rogers. They're tough charts, man.
Yeah.
Especially for the horn players, the trumpet players in particular.
Well, how do you go about putting this together? Because Chris Anderson has had the Jazz Record Art Collective going for 3, 4, 5 years maybe now. And it used to be just once a month. Then it was like once every couple of months, and then all of a sudden more and more and more groups are starting to happen over there. And I'm curious because, number one, why did you decide to do this? Just because, it's not like you're making tons of money. It's not a big payday. It's not a big, huge, gigantic subscription series where you're going to do all this. It's obviously a labor of love.
Right.
So number one, why did you decide to say, hey, you know what, let's take this on? Because now you're not just like playing as a big band. You're actually recreating an album.
Right.
That people are going to listen to and then come in and say, what's going on here?
Yes.
So there's that aspect of it.
Right.
What was intriguing about this whole concept?
So the first Buddy Rich album I ever heard was my dad bought Swinging New Big Band when I was maybe 10 years old. And he's a drummer. So that's how I kind of got into drumming. But he's not a jazz drummer. He just liked the Buddy Rich Band sound.
Yeah.
So I was exposed to that record pretty young, even before I had really picked up the drums. But that sound, man, that's just so many guys on stage all working together to make one sound. I remember that being really impactful. So fast forward to earlier this year, I did a Jazz Record Art Collective where we did Mean What You Say, the Thad Jones quintet record.
Okay. Yep.
It's Thad and Mel and Pepper Adams and Duke Pearson.
Was that your group that you guys did?
It was a quintet. Yeah, my quintet. So after doing that, I said, "Hey, Chris, have you guys ever done a Buddy Rich record?" And he's like, "No, we've never had a Buddy Rich record."
It's because nobody wanted to play drums.
So I thought, well, all right. I had at
you
that
just
point,
did the Thad Jones, Mel Lewis thing, so you might as well just take on Buddy Rich at that point.
Well, why not? And it was, the quintet record was more, much more subtle and more nuanced than a big band thing. But when I asked him, I thought, what would be the best kind of first shot at this? And Chris and I decided on Big Swing Face. He's a Bill Holman freak. He loves his writing and those arrangements. Yep. And there's several Holman charts on there, and of course there's Bugle Call Rag, which is a Holman chart, which has a nice big drum solo at the end. But it also isn't just drum solos all the way through. There's a ton of ensemble stuff, and every tune somebody gets featured. So I thought it would be a good record to showcase the band and not have to learn a 10 or 15 minute suite.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that was the concept of how you did it. Now you say, okay, hey, this sounds great. Cool, Chris. Yeah, let's do it. July 24th sounds perfect. Okay, awesome. Now what do? Now you have to get the charts, right?
So we got the charts. And a couple.
How did you get the charts?
I'm always curious. A couple of them are published.
Okay.
And a couple of them are available on the dark corners of the internet.
Okay.
And so, first
we don't want anybody coming in here. The black cars pull up out in front or anything.
I won't say where I got them, but they're available. So
they're pretty accurate.
Well, that's the thing I had to check. So we play them down at a gig and make sure that they sound anywhere near correct, and they do.
Yeah.
So and then we got to rehearse them so we start playing them live just at the gigs where we're reading, and we put them in the set, and then we've got a rehearsal, and then we play the gig.
Yeah. So, and it also helps because you have a steady. You mentioned before we came on in St. Charles, right?
It's a house pub every fourth Sunday, 8 to 11 p.m. So that's a great chance for us to try out new things. And that's been a really fun gig because people who come to that place aren't necessarily expecting a big band.
Right.
And so when they hear that sound, for the most part, everyone loves it. They're like, what is this? It's crazy to see so many people on stage. That never happens at a normal bar for the most part. So,
well, what's interesting too that you brought that up because I'm familiar with House Pub and everybody knows the downtown St. Charles area, and it's got a lot of nightlife happening down there. But the nightlife that's happening down there is like 20s, 30s, 40s, early 40s on a regular basis. Yeah. And now that you bring that up, how many of those 20-year-olds or even 30-year-olds have ever seen a big band? Unless they sought it out.
None of them at all. Yeah. So it's a completely new thing. And as you know, if you hear a big band on a recording, it sounds one way. But to experience it in a room where the air is moving, it's something else. So, yeah, we got a really good reception there. And it's been that was the start of the band at the House Pub. And it's been going for 2 years. And we're still going.
So that really helps, too. Because with a big band, if you have a steady... That keeps everybody, they're motivated. Right. They know they're coming out there. It's a gig. Here they come. They're coming out and stuff. So it makes it happen a little bit easier. But also, I think that it sounds like you've got a lot of like-minded guys in this band.
Yeah. They're all young guys who love big band music. Which is absolutely what it takes because they're not in it for the money.
Right.
Because what money?
Here's $1.
Exactly. Well, here's $20 in beer. So
what's interesting is when I came back from school, I went to North Texas. When I came back from school, I got a phone call because I wasn't playing any big band. It was kind of like you. You went to Elmhurst and stuff. And the band I started playing with, it was a reading band. They met, I think it was once a month or something. It was called the Old Man's Big Band. And, no offense, guys, but they were old men.
Yeah.
They were all great players.
Of course.
They played in the basement of a church, and I'm like 20, 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and then we would play gigs, and everybody thought one of them was my dad or something. But there wasn't any bands around that you could just do reading bands. There wasn't that happening because there's a lot to go through to get a big band together, just the music alone.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you play regularly with Corey Dennison, which is the Killing Blues band, blues rock. I call it blues rock.
Yeah, blues rock soul.
Yeah. So, and you're doing like 250 dates a year, I think you said.
Yeah.
I mean, which is insane, right? All over the city, all over the country, all over the world.
Yeah.
But you've got this passion for jazz still.
Right.
And the big band. Just talk a little bit about just. How did you find the guys to get in the band? I mean, it's one thing for you and your co-leader to put it together, but I mean, how do you get a bunch of guys that are around your age to come in and say, yeah, let's do it?
Yeah, so we had a bunch of guys from Elmhurst on the band, and then guys know guys. Right. So, oh man, I can't do this gig, but I know this great tenor player who can sub in. And sometimes the subs become the regulars. Just as this thing progresses, people have. Especially performing guys have jobs where they're trying to make money to
they gotta stay alive, man.
So, and big band doesn't really pay the bills.
Right.
So, yeah, a lot of our regulars, the guys who have stuck with the band, are just guys who just kept saying yes.
Yeah. So who's in the band like regularly? Probably. I told him I would let him take that on because there's a lot of guys in a big band.
So our sort of first version trombone section is younger guys: Josh Torrey, Nick Roach, who's also a great arranger and writes a lot for the band, Connor Eisenmenger, and Ryan Christensen. Okay. And all those guys have their other projects and other things that they're in, but it's such a killing trombone section.
Yeah.
On this gig, the rhythm section is myself, Chris on guitar, Dan Parker on bass, who's a great electric bass player, and Brad McDonald on piano.
Okay.
The saxophone section on this gig is Gerald Martinez on tenor one, who's just a killing young sax player, man. Matt Zamuda and Matt Beck on alto. Our regular Barry player is Tom Zimney, who is a Pepper Adams freak. Oh, yeah. And so, but on this particular gig, we got Landon Lemoyne, who's an NIU guy. Okay. And Natalie Scharf is the second tenor player on this gig.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Now, I was reading up on this, and Kathy Rich makes a vocal appearance on this recording.
She does.
And then I was reading about the fact that was overdubbed later at a studio or something. Are you going to be having somebody sing?
We are. Really? And so part of the conceit of the Jazz Record Art Collective is that they have someone doing a visual art performance while the band is performing. Mm-hmm. And one of the people that has sung with our band, her name is Jess Brooks, and she also does visual art. So she will be painting or doing some sort of visual art thing, and then she's going to step away and sing with the band. The tune is The Beat Goes On, the Sonny and Cher tune. And then she's going to go back to doing her thing. And then her art will be available for sale right after the show. That
is cool, and I'm glad you brought that up because obviously, everybody wants information on this, and actually they have a website, jazzrecordartcollective.com, Facebook as well, and all that good stuff. And of course, Joel has joelbearmusic.com.
Yep.
But it's cool because, everybody, it's open to the public, obviously, so I would definitely head over there if you have not been there. What is it, 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock doors, 9 p.m. hit.
9 p.m. hit,
and it's all ages.
And it's all ages.
Great. $5 for students, $10 for anyone else.
On July 24th. But the other thing that Chris Anderson has done with this program is that what you said is the visual art stuff. Lou Achenbach, I know he's been over there, Louis Achenbach. Jazz Occurrence, I knew I'd get it. He does that stuff a lot, and now there's more and more artists getting involved where they're live painting. So they're feeling what the music is doing, and then they're live painting, and then they're able to sell those paintings there. Right. And everything's working together. It's all like coming together.
It's so cool. Yeah. And Chris has done a great job putting this thing together, and it's so fun to be a part of that. So we're extremely excited for this show.
Yeah, man. So July 24th, 8 p.m. doors, 9 p.m. hit. Big Swing Face, performed by Joel Baer and the Blue Shift Big Band.
That's correct.
Now, before I let you get out of here, we got to talk a little bit. So you went to Elmhurst. Did you study with Bob Rummage?
I did.
And then after Elmhurst, you ended up
At DePaul.
At DePaul.
And I studied with Dana Hall
With
there.
Dana Hall.
Yeah.
Did you get your master's
I
there?
did,
Is it
yeah.
on jazz or jazz?
Jazz studies.
Jazz
yeah.
studies. And then, so you did all the jazz studies and everything.
Uh-huh.
And now you're playing 250 dates in a blues, soul, rock and roll, killing band with Corey Dennis.
That's right.
How did you get that gig?
Well,
Because
okay.
when people hear that you're playing 250 dates, the musicians watching this are going to say, how did he get that gig?
Yeah. Well, all right. So I grew up in Rockford, Illinois.
Okay.
Originally, and I'll say a little bit about that, and that is I had a great teacher there named Jack Brand, and Brand probably outside of Rockford was known for writing a book on Shelley Mann, a really beautiful coffee table book,
yeah.
which is cool, and you should check it out if you can find one. So Brand hit me to jazz and to big band. But while I was in Rockford, I started playing with this wild blues guitar player named Pistol Pete.
Oh, I know Pistol Pete.
You know Pistol
Sure.
Pete. So I played with him for like 5 years in my early 20s. And while we were playing at Blues, Corey would be playing with Carl Weathersby across the street at the Kingston Mines.
Okay.
And he would come over on his breaks, and we talked. And once I got to know him, I was like, "Hey, man, if you ever decide to do your own thing, give me a call. I would really love to play with you."
Yeah.
And so about 6 years ago, I got that call, and that started. And at first, he was still playing with Carl, so we weren't playing a ton.
Right.
But we got a steady at the Kingston Mines 3.5 years ago, playing every Monday and Wednesday. And then at that same time, we got a record deal with Delmar, the Chicago Jazz and Blues
Sure.
label.
Yep.
And things just took off from there, and we just started playing like crazy. So
Wow.
it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, and I mean, and you guys tour all over the country, right? All over the world.
All over the world, yeah. We're going to France in August. We did Switzerland in March, and so we just do these little fly-out dates where we do like a week and come back.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome, man. But it also gives you the opportunity. I mean, you're playing all of that
Yeah.
and nailing it, but then on your off days, you're able to pursue your jazz passion
Right,
too, right?
exactly.
And
So
your chops are way up because you're playing like a
you're
million
playing
times.
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's been one of the coolest things about that gig. It's just you're just constantly playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helps when you go to play something else. Like it's all there. You're not there's no like, oh man, I really should have practiced another 8 hours before I did this.
Right.
It's just right there. So
Yeah.
that's been a really great thing about that gig.
Oh, that's awesome. Also, I think that no matter what style of music you're playing, you can play all different styles of music at the same time, like he does, one day
Yeah.
after another and changing and stuff. But it really opens up your ears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you probably notice now that if you went back 10 years, you're hearing stuff so differently. You're finding the pocket so easier.
Yeah.
You're understanding where everything is just without even thinking about it because it's just constant.
Yeah, absolutely. And just figuring out what's the right thing to play in any given situation. And I can tell you that playing like Buddy Rich on the Corey Dennison band doesn't really fly. You gotta play pocket, right?
Yeah.
And that's the gig. And that's how you keep the gig. So playing a bunch of different things and just figuring out what's appropriate at any given situation.
Yeah.
That just comes with time and experience.
I'm always curious because since I'm a drummer,
Yeah.
playing in that style of music, Corey Dennison band,
Yeah.
you get guys, and you've heard these guys on the festivals and stuff,
Sure.
that it always astonishes me, the really good blues R&B guys playing, they're just in the pocket, they're not worried about all this other stuff, they're not ghosting a ton of notes, it's just right there. And how do you conceive that? The reason why I'm saying that is like the natural tendency as a drummer with a bunch of chops is at least ghost notes and try to funk up the hi-hat
right.
and do all that stuff. But did Corey, because I was just having this conversation with somebody else, and we were talking, and I know, it was Pat Bianchi. I did a podcast with Pat Bianchi. By the way, it's up on ChicagoJazz.com. He's coming into town. And he talked about how he was playing with Lou Donaldson, and Lou Donaldson wouldn't tell him what to do, but he'd tell him exactly what he didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
But some guys would tell him, hey man, just don't do all that stuff. I just want to hear it right here because you're building me up.
Yeah.
Did Corey mention how he wanted that, to you guys to groove, or was it just kind of like you heard the music and said, nope, this is where I'm going with this?
So the other guitar player in that band, Jerry Hunt, spent a lot of time on the road with other bands, the Nick Moss band and some other blues bands. And Jerry was really specific about like, hey man, on this tune, try this. Or, just see how that feels if you lay back on it a little bit. Or little things like that. Not telling me what to do exactly, but, suggestions.
Yep.
And when you do that and it feels good, why would you do anything else?
Exactly.
Because if the music feels good, it's going to sound good, and that's my job, right?
Yeah.
So
and you're going to make him look good,
right?
Because that's the whole job of the guys that are backing up the
exactly.
guy that's leading. I always found that fascinating because what I found is when I'm playing with guys, a lot of the jazz guys, the older jazz guys, like in the 90s when I was sitting, would not tell you anything, and then you would get off the thing and say, hey man, you should go work on this.
Yeah.
And then they would tell you then.
Right.
But at least I loved that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think nowadays maybe they're worried about hurt your feelings or whatever. I don't know because I'm not hanging out like I used to hang out, doing that. But you play with so many different people.
Yeah.
And especially with Corey, I'm always curious to ask somebody who's playing a lot with the same person. There's a reason why you're still in that band, and you guys are still growing in the industry. So it must be that you understand where that has to be because obviously what you said. I mean, you could throw down Buddy Rich chops all afternoon
and I would not necessarily keep that gig. So I think it's just having a dialogue about it because what works for a while may not work all the time, and so. As the tunes evolve or the band evolves, just having an open communication about what's working and what's not, I think is essential.
Yeah.
And I think, that still happens in with sessions and stuff where you can ask someone, if you're brave, like, hey man, like, was that working? Was that cool?
Right.
Or sometimes people will volunteer that information in a loud way.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, you got to be willing to take that. And
sure.
Just, and take the criticism and work with that.
Well, that's part of being an artist.
Right, exactly.
I mean, if you can't take criticism...
You're in the wrong field.
No, exactly.
Absolutely.
And it's also part of being like a guy that hosts a show at a hot dog stand because I hear all about how Mike Jeffers doesn't know what he's doing. He's at a hot dog stand, he talks too much, but you know what? I take that criticism.
That's right.
And then I decide if I care. All right, so anyways. All right, so Joel, your gig coming up. Fulton Street Collective, which is 1821 West Hubbard Street in Chicago. Joel Baer and the Blue Shift Big Band, they are performing the Buddy Rich Big Swing Face.
That's correct.
There's a lot of big
There's
things
a lot of
happening,
bigs
a lot
happening.
of B's, so I want to make sure Big Swing Face. July 24th, 8 p.m. doors, 9 p.m. entrance. What's the pricing on that again? Because I know
5 for students, 10 for everyone else.
10 for everyone else. JazzRecordArtCollective.com. We're going to link that up below. And of course, go check out Joel, man. I mean, he's killing. He's playing in the Corey Dennison band. If you like music, you got to check out that band, regardless of whether it's jazz or not.
Absolutely.
It's smoking. JoelBaerMusic.com. And of course, you have other things sprinkled in throughout the year. And we got to have you come back at some point when you got something else happening and when you're back from your travels after all your different things that you have going on. But drummers have to stick together, so
That's
I appreciate
right.
you
Hey, man,
coming
thank
in.
you.
Absolutely. And of course, hopefully Joel will see you at one of these gigs, hopefully on July 24th. And hopefully I will see you at one of these gigs. I might be there on July 24th, and if not, hopefully one of us will see you somewhere out on the scene.